The moment they see you again after months of silence, they're not thinking about how you've been. They're thinking about one thing only: do I still matter to you? And here's what most people miss: their first move isn't words, it's a calculation. A split-second decision designed to pull you back into a familiar role. If this resonates, pause for a moment, ground yourself. And if you're finding clarity here, make sure you stay connected, because understanding these patterns is how you stop repeating them. When they see you again after a long silence, the very first thing that happens is an internal scan, and it happens instantly. Before they say hello, before their face settles into a smile or indifference, they are assessing whether they still have psychological access to you. This is not a conscious, reflective process. It is automatic and survival-based, driven by a deep need to regulate their sense of power and self-worth through others. Your presence is not experienced as a reunion, but as a mirror. They are scanning for signs of authority, relevance, and emotional leverage. They notice your body language first. Are your shoulders tense or relaxed? Do you avoid eye contact or hold it calmly? Do you seem eager, guarded, confident, or unsure? These cues tell them whether the old hierarchy still exists. If you appear smaller, hesitant, or overly polite, it signals that the previous dynamic may still be intact. If you appear grounded and self-possessed, it creates an immediate internal threat because it suggests they no longer occupy a central position in your emotional world. Next, they assess your emotional availability. Are you reactive? Do your expressions shift when they speak? Do you seem relieved, anxious, or thrown off balance? Emotional reactions are interpreted as openings. Even discomfort is useful because it indicates impact. Indifference, however, is destabilizing. When they sense neutrality, they feel invisible. And invisibility is intolerable because it removes their ability to regulate themselves through you. They are also scanning for narrative control. They are checking whether you still hold them accountable in your mind or whether time has softened your perception. This determines whether they approach with charm, nostalgia, or dismissal. If they sense unresolved emotion, they may lean into warmth. If they sense independence, they may lean into coldness. Both are designed to reassert dominance and restore a familiar balance. This scan is not about reconnection, healing, or understanding. It is about reestablishing position. The outcome of that first silent assessment determines every move that follows, because once they know whether they still matter to you, they know exactly how to proceed. What follows immediately after that internal scan is a rapid shift into either sudden charm or noticeable coldness. And this is not random. It is a dominance test. They are trying to determine which emotional posture gives them the upper hand in that moment. If they sense that warmth will disarm you, they may become unusually friendly, engaging, even magnetic. The smile appears quickly, the tone softens, and there may be a sense of familiarity that feels almost intimate given the long silence. This is not affection returning. It is a strategic move to see whether closeness still grants them influence over your emotional state. If, however, they sense that charm will not work or that you have emotionally detached, the switch goes in the opposite direction. They become distant, clipped, or subtly dismissive. Eye contact may be brief. Responses may feel delayed or minimal. This coldness is not emotional regulation, it is provocation. The goal is to trigger uncertainty, self-doubt, or a desire in you to restore equilibrium by engaging more than you intended. Both charm and coldness serve the same purpose: to pull you into reacting. What makes this moment so confusing is the speed of the shift. 1 second they may seem warm, the next detached. This inconsistency is not accidental. It is designed to destabilize you just enough to make you lean in emotionally. When people feel emotionally off balance, they become more readable, more reactive, and easier to assess. Your reaction to this shift gives them valuable information about how much power they still hold. If you respond to charm with openness, they register access. If you respond to coldness with concern or over-explanation, they register control. Even irritation can feel rewarding because it confirms relevance. The only response that disrupts the test is calm neutrality. When neither charm nor coldness changes your emotional stance, the test fails. This is why encounters like this often leave people feeling unsettled without knowing why. You were not simply greeted, you were evaluated, tested, and emotionally probed within seconds. The interaction was not about connection, it was about positioning, and the outcome of that test shapes everything that follows in the interaction. Another thing that happens immediately is the use of eye contact, posture, and tone as silent power moves. This is communication without words, and it is deliberate. They may hold eye contact a fraction too long or break it abruptly, both meant to signal dominance or disinterest. Their body may be angled slightly away from you, creating distance, or leaned in just enough to feel intrusive. These are not unconscious habits in this moment. They are adjustments made in real time based on how you appear to them. They are watching to see whether you mirror them, shrink back, or unconsciously accommodate. Tone becomes especially important here. They might speak slower, calmer, almost overly controlled, projecting a sense of superiority or emotional detachment. Or they may adopt an exaggerated casual tone as if nothing meaningful ever happened between you. This minimizes the past and positions them as unaffected, which is intended to place you one step behind, emotionally scrambling to understand where you stand. If your voice tightens, speeds up, or becomes overly polite, they register that immediately as a shift in power. Posture is another quiet signal. Standing tall, relaxed, and unguarded communicates self-possession, which can feel threatening to them. In response, they may subtly puff themselves up, cross their arms, or take up more physical space. If you fold inward, tilt your head, or lean toward them, it communicates deference, even if you don't intend it to. These exchanges happen quickly and often below conscious awareness, but they set the emotional tone for the entire interaction. What makes these silent power moves effective is that they bypass logic. You may walk away feeling small, tense, or unsettled without being able to point to a single sentence that caused it. That's because the message was delivered through presence, not content. They are not trying to understand you. They are trying to position themselves in relation to you. When you remain physically relaxed, keep your tone neutral and do not adjust yourself to manage their comfort. The dynamic shifts. The absence of submission or reactivity interrupts the unspoken script they rely on, and without that script, their sense of control weakens immediately. Another immediate behavior is that they begin fishing for emotional reactions without asking anything directly. Instead of clear questions, they use indirect cues designed to pull something out of you. This can look like a vague comment, a loaded pause, or a casual observation that feels slightly off. Statements like, "You seem different," or "Life's been interesting lately," are not curiosity. They are bait. The goal is not information, but emotional movement. They are watching to see if you explain yourself, defend your growth, or reveal vulnerability without being prompted. Silence is one of their favorite tools here. They may say very little and allow awkward space to stretch, knowing that many people feel compelled to fill it. If you rush to talk, overshare, or update them on your life, they learn that access is still available. Even neutral facts can feel rewarding to them if those facts are delivered with emotional charge. What matters is not what you say, but how much energy you give while saying it. They may also use subtle emotional references to the past without naming it. A shared memory hinted at, a look that lingers, or a half smile at something only you would understand. These moments are designed to see whether your emotional body responds before your mind does. If you smile automatically, soften, or seem nostalgic, they register that the emotional imprint remains. If you tense or become visibly uncomfortable, that too is useful because discomfort still signals impact. What makes this tactic effective is its deniability. If you later feel unsettled, you may struggle to explain why. Nothing overtly manipulative happened. No questions were asked. No demands were made. Yet you walked away feeling exposed or emotionally stirred. That is intentional. By keeping the interaction indirect, they avoid accountability while still extracting emotional data. They are not listening for content. They are listening for tone changes, facial expressions, and pacing. A quicker heartbeat shows up in your voice. A need to be understood shows up in your words. These are the things they collect. When they sense that you are emotionally guarded but calm, that you answer without elaboration and without tension, the phishing yields nothing. The most regulating response is not distance or coldness, but emotional neutrality. When their vague comments are met with steady, minimal responses, the interaction loses its purpose. Without emotional movement to track, they cannot orient themselves, and the familiar sense of control begins to slip quietly out of reach. Another thing they do almost immediately is begin subtly rewriting the past in ways that benefit them. This is not an overt retelling or a direct confrontation with what happened. It is quiet, casual, and often delivered as if it were an agreed upon truth. They might reference the silence as just life getting busy, or imply that distance happened naturally without cause. This framing is intentional. It erases accountability while testing whether you will challenge the narrative or accept it. They watch closely for your response. If you nod, smile politely, or let the statement pass without correction, it signals that the past has been blurred enough to be reshaped. That gives them permission in their mind to continue interacting as though no harm occurred. If you correct them emotionally with visible frustration or pain, they register that the past still has power over you. Either reaction gives them information. What they are checking is not whether they were right or wrong, but whether they still control the story. This rewriting often includes minimizing your experience while amplifying their own neutrality. They may imply that everything is fine now or that things weren't that serious, even if the silence was deeply impactful for you. This is not reconciliation. It is an attempt to reset the dynamic without repair. By shrinking the past, they avoid vulnerability and maintain superiority. What makes this tactic disorienting is its calm delivery. Because it is not aggressive, it can feel unreasonable to object. You may feel pressure to go along with it to keep the interaction smooth. That pressure is the point. If you feel compelled to swallow your truth for the sake of peace, the old imbalance is quietly restored. They are not looking for closure. They are testing whether you will self-abandon to preserve connection. When you do not argue, justify, or emotionally engage with the rewritten version of events, something important happens. You stop participating in the false narrative without needing to correct it. The past remains intact inside you, even if it is not discussed. When their attempt to minimize history does not provoke guilt, defensiveness, or emotional explanation, the strategy fails. Without your emotional cooperation, the rewritten story has no power, and the dynamic they are trying to resurrect cannot fully take shape. Another immediate behavior is that they minimize the long silence as if it meant nothing at all. This is not forgetfulness. It is intentional emotional erasure. By treating the absence as insignificant, they are attempting to control the emotional frame of the interaction. If the silence is framed as unimportant, then your experience of it becomes irrelevant. This allows them to re-enter the space without addressing impact, responsibility, or repair. They may reference the gap lightly with a shrugging tone or a casual remark that suggests time simply passed. There is often an expectation that you will follow their lead and mirror that casualness. If you do, it confirms that they can disengage and reappear without consequence. If you don't, and your body language or tone reflects the weight of what that silence meant to you, they register that emotional charge and adjust their strategy accordingly. What makes this minimization powerful is how quickly it pressures you to regulate yourself. You may feel confused for caring so deeply about something they are presenting as trivial. That confusion often leads people to question their own reality or emotional responses. In that moment, the focus shifts away from their disappearance and toward your reaction to it, which is exactly where they want it. This behavior also serves as a boundary test. By acting as though nothing happened, they are checking whether you will demand accountability or accept access without acknowledgement. If you move forward as if the silence was inconsequential, it signals that they can repeat the pattern in the future. The absence becomes normalized. They are not gauging your forgiveness, they are gauging your tolerance. If you feel the urge to explain how the silence affected you in hopes of being understood, they note that emotional investment is still present. If you confront them with intensity, they note that the bond still has charge. Both confirm relevance. When you neither downplay nor emotionally react to the minimization, the dynamic shifts. You do not need to justify your feelings or correct their framing. You simply stop participating in the illusion that nothing happened. In that neutrality, the silence retains its meaning without needing to be discussed, and their attempt to erase it quietly loses its power. Another thing they do very quickly is test your boundaries through what looks like accidental familiarity. This can show up as using an old nickname, referencing shared routines, or speaking to you as if the emotional distance never existed. It may feel subtle, even harmless, but it is intentional. Familiarity is a shortcut to access. By slipping into the old tone, they are checking whether the old rules still apply. They watch closely to see how you respond. If you smile, soften, or mirror that familiarity, it signals that emotional boundaries have relaxed. That tells them they can move closer without earning trust or addressing the rupture. If you seem startled, uncomfortable, or unsure, they register that too, because uncertainty often leads people to overcompensate. Overcompensation creates openings. This kind of boundary testing is often paired with small intrusions, standing slightly closer than necessary, asking a personal question framed as casual, making a comment that assumes intimacy rather than requesting it. None of these actions are overt enough to challenge directly, but together they form a probe. Each probe is designed to see how much space they can take without resistance. What makes this tactic effective is that it places the burden on you to correct the boundary. If you do, you risk appearing cold or overreactive. If you don't, the boundary quietly dissolves. This is why many people leave these encounters feeling as though something was crossed, even though they cannot identify a specific moment. They are not trying to reconnect emotionally in a healthy way. They are checking whether access can be resumed without effort. Familiarity without repair allows them to bypass accountability while restoring comfort for themselves. When you respond with polite neutrality rather than matching the familiarity, the test fails. You are not hostile, but you are not inviting closeness either. You allow the interaction to remain present-focused and appropriate to the current reality, not the past dynamic. In doing this, you communicate something powerful without saying it out loud. Access now requires respect and consistency. The old door does not open just because they knock in the same way they used to, and without that automatic entry, their sense of entitlement begins to weaken immediately. The final and most important thing driving all of these behaviors is the real goal, which is the restoration of supply, not genuine reconnection. Everything they do in that first encounter is oriented toward one question. Can you still be used to regulate their sense of self? Attention, emotional reactions, admiration, fear, irritation, nostalgia, even visible discomfort all function as forms of supply. It is not the quality of the emotion that matters, but the fact that it exists and is directed at them. This is why the interaction often feels strangely hollow. On the surface, it may look calm, friendly, or even mature, but underneath, there is no curiosity about your inner world. They are not trying to understand how you changed, what you learned, or what you need now. They are checking whether the emotional circuit between you still works. If it does, they know they can reinsert themselves into your life in some capacity. They may escalate or retreat based on what they sense. If they detect emotional availability, they may become more engaging, personal, or charming. If they detect emotional distance, they may withdraw, become dismissive, or create subtle tension to provoke a response. Both directions serve the same purpose. Movement equals relevance, reaction equals access. What is often misunderstood is that they do not need you to come back fully. Even a small emotional exchange can be enough to stabilize them temporarily. A conversation, a reaction, a visible shift in your energy. That is why these encounters can feel draining even when they are brief. You are not engaging in mutual connection. You are being used as a regulatory object. When you do not provide emotional supply, something important happens internally for them. The encounter feels flat, unrewarding, incomplete. They may leave feeling irritated, confused, or deflated without knowing why. That is because the expected emotional return did not occur. When you remain emotionally neutral, present but uninvested, you remove yourself from the role they are trying to assign you. The interaction no longer serves its purpose. In that moment, the power dynamic quietly shifts, not through confrontation or explanation, but through the absence of emotional fuel they were seeking all along.